Hello, everybody. I am here today to talk to you about a consultation we're doing as a school around relationships and sex education. Now, this is a statutory consultation that all schools need to do before the end of the academic year. And what we want to do within this consultation is explain to you our plans for moving forward with our relationships and sex education policy and curriculum. And also to give you a sort of model of the curriculum, try and give you as much information as we possibly can about what it looks like, but also consult with you and hear your views about if there's anything you think we need to add or anything that you think is important to us and our school community. So yes, this is a consultation. I'm going to talk you through a PowerPoint now, which gives us some information around why it's important that schools do this consultation and some changes that have happened to the curriculum in light of DfE guidance, etc. So it's been 20 years since the last review of the curriculum. The world and how we interact with each other, particularly after the COVID pandemic, has changed considerably. So our children in the last 20 years, in fact, in the time I've been at Larkwise, have been exposed to so many more things through the use of technology, through the use of the internet, mobile phones, different apps and different ways they can communicate online. So we have to put in place a new relationships education policy here at Larkwise. It's important that we do so that our children go on to be happy and confident adults in the future, and they have an awareness about how to keep themselves safe and an awareness about what a happy and safe relationship looks like. So previous recommendations for teaching personal social health education, or PSHE, as you might hear us teachers refer to it, are now a statutory part of the national curriculum. Sex education, however, in primary schools still remains optional, though in years 5 and 6, aspects of the science curriculum form part of what might be considered as sex education. So, for example, puberty and reproduction. So the science curriculum is non-optional. It's part of the national curriculum that we are told that we need to teach here in this country, and it's an important aspect of the curriculum. So in year 5 and 6, children will be taught about puberty and reproduction. So the science curriculum in particular, this is what it looks like. As part of the science national curriculum, we teach the following objectives that build understanding about growth and reproduction. So in year 1, children should be able to identify, name, draw and label the basic parts of the human body and say which part of the body is associated with which sense. In year 2, they should notice that animals, including humans, have offspring, which grow into adults. They should not be expected to understand how that reproduction occurs. But you might hear children talking about life cycles. We've had tadpoles, we've had frogs, tadpoles grow into frogs here, butterflies, etc. That's all part of the process of teaching children to understand that life cycles and offspring, how they grow and change over that time. In year 5 and 6, children should be able to describe the life processes of reproduction in some plants and animals, and they should learn particularly about the changes they experience in puberty. So where and how did you learn about sex and relationships education? For young people, their learning comes from lots of different avenues from when we were perhaps younger. They have mobile phones. Children have access to mobile phones from a much younger age. If they don't, some of their friends will, and they'll be getting information that they might choose to talk and share with others from TV, from the internet, from school. As we said, if their friends are reading about things or know about things, then they will be hearing about that in school. From their parents and carers, some people may choose to talk to their children about relationships and sex at a younger age, and that obviously friendship groups may be disseminated, and from older siblings and friends as well. So it's important because it's an entitlement. It's in our national curriculum. It says that we need to talk to children about this. It's also a scientific fact that puberty is starting earlier, and for some children it starts by age 9. We know that in this country in the past and continue to have situations of unwanted conceptions and younger children falling pregnant and having children at a younger age. Also, sexually transmitted infections are on the rise. And very specifically, and really importantly here, not as important as the stuff I've already spoken about, is issues of grooming. We want children to know what that would look like, the sort of how to keep themselves safe and have some protective behaviours around that, and child sex exploitation. Abuse, so knowing what that looks like, and being able to stop and do something to seek support if that's happening. We know that sexting is a thing. More and more young children are sharing images of themselves online, and unfortunately these images are sometimes disseminated to others. And also online pornography, children may be exposed or may see or hear about or be intrigued and watch online pornography in some way, shape or form. So what is effective SRE? So effective relationships and sex education. So in our school, it's really important that it is age appropriate. We've considered this all the way through. We want it to be completely age appropriate. We want it to be based on the needs of the pupils, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So if you have a child with special educational needs, we want to make sure that they're equipped with all of the tools they need, but it will be done in an appropriate way based on their needs. We want it to be progressive, so we don't want everything to be sort of crammed into year 6. We want it to build as the children move through the school, so that they are building on prior learning, and nothing is sort of a shock when they find out as they grow older. It feeds into what's come before. We want it to be delivered by confidently trained staff in a safe environment here at Larkrise. And we want to prepare children adequately for puberty, so that it's not a shock to them or a trauma or anything unexpected. As we said at the start, we want our children to be happy adults. That's one of our most important things, who can go on to have positive and happy relationships in the future. So does it work, and what's the evidence? Those receiving, and this is from government research, those receiving good quality RSE are more likely to delay their first sexual experience till a larger age, use condoms for contraception, and have fewer sexual partners in their lives. So outcomes of the Ofsted review of existing relationships and sex education nationally. So teaching of relationships and sex education required improvement in this country. In over a third of schools, the provision was not systematic enough. It wasn't building over time, and children were not adequately prepared for puberty. In primary schools, too much emphasis was placed on friendships and relationships. So your rights as a parent, you may be listening to this and you may be feeling slightly uncomfortable, and that's a normal feeling when we're talking about this type of thing and in terms of children. But your right as a parent is to be informed of our relationships and sex education curriculum and policy, to know what it's about, so that you can support at home and you can talk and use the same language and be equipped to be consistent with us. To be consulted about any changes that we choose to make. And you also have a right to withdraw your child from sex education lessons that are outside or in addition to the science national curriculum. So if you do choose to do that, you do have the right to withdraw, but they have to be outside the statutory obligations that we spoke about in that second or third slide around science. So a national children's consultation project was put into place to seek all of this research, and they wanted to find out from children of different ages about what they already knew and needed to know about relationships and sex. So what do they need to know now, i.e. what do they view as age appropriate, and what would they need to know later? In addition, they were asked to tell more about this picture just here. So what did the children say? In year 2, children mostly spoke about they needed to know rules about keeping safe, mainly about rules and keeping safe. In year 4, children said they wanted to find out about body changes, growing bigger, voice changes, marriage and dating, though the term dating wouldn't usually start till children in secondary school, obviously. In year 6, they wanted to know about hormones, body changes, relationships with family, friends, gender and sexuality, and gender stereotypes. And they wanted to know more. They felt they needed to know more about this. And what did the children say they needed to know about later? They didn't need to know about now. So year 2 children in this national project said they wanted to find out more about internet safety, stranger danger, knives. In year 4, it was around bullying, internet safety, having babies, periods and growing hair under armpits. And year 6, they wanted to know about how not to have a baby. That's an important aspect of that there, how not to have a baby. So there's obviously was some concerns from the year 6 children who were consulted. So This is a picture here. They were asked to talk about this picture. So where did children think the baby had come from? Year 2 said it has come from Scotland. It was found on a doorstep. Someone in year 2 said a shop. Someone said a seed from daddy, a seed from a plant from God. In year 4, someone said you eat a seed. Someone else said God. A man and a girl do a thingamajig. I'm not saying. So obviously some children who have some awareness here. Another one who obviously clearly has some awareness around RSE, about sex education. So sperm like a tadpole. Confusion about how a woman could be pregnant without a man. So there was some confusion there because of the picture. In year 6, there was lots of giggling and more giggling. Often when we see children giggling, it's because obviously they're uncomfortable and they know a little bit about it, and perhaps they are not quite sure how to broach the subject and need more knowledge to feel more comfortable. Sperm, testicles, womb and egg were the other things that they spoke about. So there's the knowledge coming through from the science curriculum here in year 6. So when asked about how the baby gets out, some children said they push it out. In year 2, belly button. I'm not going to read all of these. You can actually read them through. But what this shows us is that there's a real range of knowledge throughout all of the year groups. Some children seem to have a more in-breadth knowledge, and others have no knowledge at all. And I think that obviously depends on circumstances, what they've heard, what they've been experienced to, whether their parents have spoken to them about such things. Now, this is important that we control and we manage the information that they know. It doesn't feel so scary to a child if it is being controlled and it's being told to them in a safe and supportive environment than it does being told something by your friends on the playground. So this is another reason why we want to make sure that we get our relationships and sex education policy right. So lots of embarrassment, lots of giggles, lots of struggling to name the body parts from some children. Some parents where children said they'd spoken to their parents and carers. The use of language around gay seen as an insult, but some children were not aware as to what that meant. Lots of gender stereotyping. This is really profound. Lots of children wanted more relationships and sex education than they had had before, and they wanted teachers to deliver the learning, particularly in year 6. So there's obviously a feeling from those children that they would have liked to have been more prepared. So the recommendations post this research and the information that I've just presented to you was that we need to introduce children to the correct scientific terms to describe body parts in Key Stage 1. We 100% need to challenge the use of gay as an insult and include work around the makeup of different families. This is already part of our curriculum and will continue to be a huge part of it. We want to explore, challenge gender roles and stereotypes. Again, another big part of our PSHE curriculum going into 2021 to 22. We want to push and get children to explore puberty changes by the age of 8 and 9, so the age of year 4, so that they're starting to have a bit more of awareness there. And we want to deliver relationships and sex education in a progressive way, as we said, throughout the school, and ensure children in years 5 and 6 receive relationships and sex input around puberty so that they are prepared as soon as possible for when the onset of that starts. For some sessions in our school, we will definitely consider single gender sessions. And we will obviously, as we said at the start, parents have a right to opt out of certain sessions if they so choose to do. So I'm going to let you read this bit in your own time. And you can pause the video if you'd like to read through it. But in a snapshot, it kind of just covers everything that we've said before and how this policy will hopefully contribute to our general PSHE curriculum and moving children forward. So what we would like you to do is we'd like you to respond to a survey. This link here is not, you're not going to be able to click on it because this is a video recording. So we will send you the link separately alongside this presentation. So what we are particularly interested in is your views about when to tackle different concepts and any areas you might require support with at home to sort of move further on with the conversation, or if your child asks you a question and you feel uncomfortable about how to answer it, have a think about what support you might need for that. We are very aware that there might be a difference of opinion with this, and we want to take everybody's views into account when we finalise our policy and our curriculum plan. It's important for us to do that. That's why we're sharing this consultation with you. We want to hear your views about what you think your children need, and And as I said earlier, this may be uncomfortable to some of you, and that's okay. We want to talk and we want to have that dialogue with our community in terms of this. And we will share the findings of this consultation in the summer term. So what we're asking for is if you could complete the questionnaire that has been sent along with this presentation, have a read through our draft. It's a draft relationships and sex education policy. And there's some frequently asked question. There's a frequently asked question document, which is good. There are some other documents that clearly lay out what will be taught when and a little bit of how it will be taught. Acquaint yourself with all of those documents, have a little read through, and then fill in the questionnaire with your views and your consultations, your opinions on what you think you'd like to see in this consultation. Another thing to say, if you feel really uncomfortable about this, then I'd urge you to arrange a meeting with myself and Mr. Gray to discuss it in a bit more detail further. And as we said, it's really important that we hear from you and everybody's voices are heard. So thank you for listening, and I hope it's been useful. Thank you. Bye.